Today we will be discussing about undescended testes. As you can see in the diagram that on the left side this testis is placed up to base of the scrotum, and this is a normal situation. While on the right side you can see that testis is lying in the inguinal canal, and this is undescended testis. So now we will discuss, and before we go on, we will discuss some clinical scenario. There is a premature 2 kg newborn. Male baby is having empty right scrotum. Size and place of left testis is normal. Rest of the examination, that is the abdomen and other part, is within normal limits. So the baby is born with empty right scrotum. Baby is premature and baby is having low birth weight. What is your diagnosis? Naturally, you will say diagnosis is undescended testis. When to treat? How would you manage? And if surgery is required, what should be the right age? And moreover, if you do not do surgery, what is going to happen? Those are the questions which we are going to discuss. Now think of second scenario, where a 30-year-old male who presents with mild pain and intra-abdominal lump in right abdomen. When you examine, the lump is hard, non-tender, it feels irregular, fixed, and it is not moving with the respiration. What do you think? What should you examine more? Definitely the examination of abdomen is not complete without the examination of scrotum, and you find that right scrotum is empty. Now what is your diagnosis and why? How will you manage this case? These are few questions which you come to your mind when you are dealing with clinical scenario and you are dealing with outdoor patients. At the end of my lecture, my learning outcomes will be that the trainee or the student should be able to understand embryology of testicular descent and its application, be able to suspect diagnosis based on clinical presentation, be able to confirm diagnosis, whatever diagnosis is provisional, be able to prescribe correct treatment, should understand logical approach of management. These are the learning objectives. And moreover, if you do not treat this patient, what is going to happen? What are the complications? That should be understandable at the end of this lecture. I am to tell you that the learning resource material what we have used in this lecture is Bailey and Love's Short Practice of Surgery 27th edition, Campbell Walsh Urology 12th edition, and we have got platform the clinicaluptodate.com and clinicalkey.com. These are the two learning platforms we are having in our university and our students can use anytime. Now, undescended testes, under which headings we are going to discuss, you should note it down. Testicular embryology and normal descent, we should know that. What is the timetable of testicular descent? What is the incidence of undescended testes? Classification. Then what are the theories of maldescent? Whether it is the endocrine factors, gubernacular factors, or mechanical in the form of intra-abdominal pressure. As you know, when there are so many theories, then there is no one definite cause. Then you should be able to understand histopathology. We'll be discussing about the clinical features. What are the hazards of incomplete descent or other complications also? What investigations do we need and what is its relevance? How do we treat, like hormone therapy or surgical treatment? So if we look into the embryology of testicular descent, see, whenever there is conception, the chromosomal sex is decided as soon as X chromosome meets with Y chromosome. But male sexual differentiation does not begin until testicular differentiation within fetus. And this testicular differentiation starts at 7th week of gestation. And what is responsible for that? There is a SRY gene located on short arm of Y chromosome, which is responsible for testicular differentiation. What happens? This fetal testis secretes two types of hormones. One is testosterone secreted by Leydig cell and the other is Mullerian inhibiting substance. It is secreted from Sertoli cells. Testosterone is responsible for development of normal male character. And this is important for all of us to know. Whenever there is an infant or when there is a baby in womb, it has got Mullerian structure as well as the structures which are going to develop testes. So now this Mullerian structure has to be inhibited and that is being done by Mullerian inhibiting substance. This is a substance which degenerates the Mullerian material or Mullerian remnants and then development of testes occurs. This is the timetable of testicular descent. When there is a differentiation, at 2nd month of fetal life, testis lies in lumbar region. And in the 3rd month, it comes to iliac fossa, whether it is right or left. And at 7th month of gestation, it lies at deep inguinal ring. This is very important for you to note that if the baby is born at 7 months, the testis will normally lie at deep inguinal ring. Then during 7 months, it travels the inguinal canal and it lies at the superficial ring at the end of 8th month. Normally, when baby is born, then it is the final position in 9 months. So this timetable is self-explanatory that if baby is born premature, then testis will be at the upper position than normal. Now, what is the incidence? If you look into the neonatal congenital abnormality, this isolated cryptorchidism is most common congenital abnormality in the males. To the tune of that it is 3% of full-term male newborn. Just imagine any congenital anomaly to the tune of 3%, that is highest incidence, and that is very important for you to note for your PGME question also. Unilateral is more common than bilateral because when it is bilateral and intra-abdominal, it is more so known as cryptorchid testis. Right side is more common than left side, that is the incidence. And in 70 to 77%, it spontaneously descends by 3 months of age. That means when baby is born with empty scrotum, then by 3 months of age, the baby has scrotal testis. That is very important for us to understand. So whenever the baby is born with empty scrotum, we should wait up to this period, mandatory. And this incidence further increases to 1% by the end of 1 year. What is the importance of this? That means that we can very well wait up to the age of 1 year for any surgical or medical treatment, because during first year the testis is expected to take the bottom position of scrotum. If you classify, then depending upon location, whether it is within the abdomen, you are not able to palpate, it is intra-abdominal or it is extra-abdominal. And in the extra-abdominal, whether it is intracanalicular, that means within the inguinal canal, or outside inguinal canal, that means it has crossed the superficial ring, where it can be either suprapubic or it can be infrapubic. That means it is superior to pubic symphysis or it is inferior to pubic symphysis. So these are the classification. But Kaplan gave a very good classification, a clinical classification, and said that the testes or undescended testes, they are divided into palpable and non-palpable. Palpable testes are 80%, that means where you can really palpate testes, whether they are in the canal or just lying suprapubic or infrapubic. And non-palpable means the testes are proximal to deep ring. You are not able to palpate. They are 20%. Now, what are the factors for late testicular descent? If you look into the factor, the low birth weight is supposed to be the principal determinant at the birth. Again, a good PGME question that you all must understand. And next one is preterm birth delivery or small for gestational age. So if there is an option between low birth weight and preterm birth delivery, then the principal determinant is low birth weight. And you remember our case was 2 kg and it was premature. So that is why the scrotum was empty. It has been seen if there are twins, then the incidence is high. That may be responsible. Very interestingly, the mothers who have consumed cola drinks during pregnancy, their male baby has got more incidence in comparison to those who did not consume cola drinks. If mother has got any disease like preeclampsia or breech presentation or there was complicated delivery, these are all factors responsible for late testicular descent. And mind you, in all those situations, you need to wait up to 1 year or at least for 6 months. So that is very important for all of us to know. We should not immediately embark into treatment when we see empty scrotum at birth. Then there could be some familial factors, means if father was having undescended testes, then his son may have more incidence. If one brother is having incidence of undescended testes in the family, the next one will have higher incidence. So this should also be taken into account. That means whenever we are taking history, we have to take prenatal history, we have to take family history, and we have to look for all other risk factors. Then what about the gubernaculum and the testicular descent? Do we have any relation with the gubernaculum? As far as the data is concerned, the gubernaculum develops in 7th week of gestational life. And this gubernaculum is important in fixing the testis to inguinal canal before descent. See, the testis sits at the top of the gubernaculum like a drop of pearly white liquid, you can say jelly, and then this gubernaculum fixes the testis to inguinal canal. Whether it leads to descent into the scrotum or not, that is not very clear, but this is very clear. So that means the definite role in descent is not obvious, because see, the testis can never be pulled into the scrotum. That you must understand. It is not that the gubernaculum goes and gets and attaches itself to the scrotal base and pulls the testis down. No. Its role is only to fix the testis to inguinal canal, and rest of the things, they happen on their own. Testicular descent is a complex process, and apart from the gubernacular factor, the mechanical as well as hormonal factors, they also play important role. Testicular descent, as you have seen previously, that hormones play role in second phase. That means when the inguino-scrotal phase, first phase was from abdomen to the inguinal canal. The second phase is from inguinal canal to scrotum. These testosterone and dihydrotestosterone, they are necessary for descent. If their level is low, you may be having undescended testis. Then there is one more factor, that is descending. It is basically androgen independent factor. It does not depend whether the testosterone is low or high. And that is what is gubernacular specific growth factor. It is responsible for testicular descent from inguinal canal to scrotum. What exactly happens? During descent, the gubernaculum swells, and when it swells, it increases the space of the inguinal canal. And now once there is more space in the inguinal canal, it facilitates testis to pass through canal and come into scrotum. Then if baby has got lowered intra-abdominal pressure, what will happen? There will be no pressure from above. So baby is more prone of having undescended testes. Like patient is having prune belly syndrome or examphelos, whether there is a low intra-abdominal pressure, the baby is most likely to have anomaly of undescended testes. But if the integrity of abdominal wall is maintained, then incidence becomes low. We have to look for the histopathology and its implication. As you can see in the slide, the changes are evident between 1 to 2 years of age. Means before 1 year of age, we do not find appreciable change in histopathology. Means what? Means we can wait for 1 year, up to 1 year, for any treatment. Because we have seen that by the end of 1 year, the incidence decreases from 3% to 1%, and most of the testes, that is 70 to 77%, they descend on their own by the end of 3 months, and then further they take another 9 months and the incidence again decreases. So we can very safely wait up to 1 year. And these changes, now what are these changes? See, testis is supposed to remain outside the abdomen so that it can sustain the vitality. The germ cell, whether they are Leydig cell and the Sertoli cell, they do not sustain higher temperature of the body. So that is why they are brought outside the body, where the temperature is 1 to 2 degree low from core body temperature. If they are undescended, they are close to the body, what is going to happen? There is decreased number of Leydig cell and there is degeneration of Sertoli cell. As you know, if the Leydig cell, they are decreased, then there will be decreased production of testosterone. When testis is undescended, then you will find the delayed appearance of adult dark spermatogonia and failure of primary spermatocyte to develop. See, you must be knowing that spermatocyte or spermatogonia, they develop from germ cell. From germ cell, through various stages, spermatids, through primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, spermatids, and mature spermatogonia and mature spermatozoa. There are so many stages. When testis is undescended, it is close to body because of the increased temperature, because of the loss of Leydig cell. They have reduced total germ cell count. Before we discuss about the clinical features, and obviously when you will examine, you will find that testis is absent in the normal position, and the normal position is at the bottom of scrotum. You must examine the baby in a comfortable position, lying position. You should warm your hand, and ideally you should have soapy solution in your hand, so that when you are palpating, very less friction appears or is generated while you are palpating the abdomen of baby. And this less friction or the soapy solution will help you to milk out testis from above to downwards. So that precautions you will take before you are going to examine baby for undescended testis. If testis is palpable, it may be soft and small as compared to the other side. The consistency will be soft, and it may be associated with hernia. When baby cries, there is an increased cry impulse or the cough impulse, or there is abdominal fluid because of the patent processus vaginalis, so what is known as hydrocele. Then when you will take history, you will definitely find that baby was preterm, or during the antenatal period the mother must be taking some gestational steroid or some cola drink, or there is a positive family history. All should be taken care of. And most important, when baby is born, then this clinical anomaly must be reported on case sheet. Even if baby is born with the empty scrotum, it must be well recorded so that we can follow it up for 1 year. Yes, initially it was not there, now it has descended. Or it was not there, now it is there. So that is very important. All of you must understand, especially the girls who are going for the or opting for the gynecology. When baby is born, please examine baby in detail, or ask your pediatrician to examine baby in detail, and whatever abnormality is visible, it should be well documented. Normally what happens? Obvious abnormality like meningocele, exam phalos, ectopia vesicae, we document, but we do not document the scrotal abnormality, and that we have to be very cautious. Now there are various terms which are used with undescended testes. One is non-palpable, as I have told you that Kaplan has told that all the intra-abdominal testes, they are non-palpable. What is vanishing testes? Vanishing testes is a term given when testis has not developed. It is anarchia, not at all developed, and this can only be detected during exploration. When you explore the spermatic cord, you will find that there is nothing proximal to spermatic cord. So that is vanishing testis. Then testis could be atrophic. That means you can find testes, you can palpate testes. It could be small, having soft consistency. So that testis is atrophic. And what is retractile? Retractile testis is that testis which is developed and descended normally up to bottom of scrotum, but because of the strong cremaster reflex, it retracts into the abdomen. You will not label this testis as undescended testis. This is again a very common mistake. We often label retractile testes and embark the treatment. So we must, while examining, we must see milk the testis down. If it can be brought up to the bottom of scrotum, then it is normally descended testis and we should not worry for. So these are the terms which you should be aware, and they are commonly used while we are discussing undescended testis. Then what are the complications or hazards of incomplete descent? Number one, infertility, as you have seen through histopathology, that there is deficient spermatogonia, there is degeneration of germ cell. So in due course of time, when this baby develops into adults, this adult is not able to produce spermatozoa, maybe having azoospermia, or less number of spermatozoa, that is oligospermia, or less motile spermatozoa, that is known as asthenospermia, or a combination of both, oligoasthenospermia. Even the sperms which are produced may not be normal. That means they may be more abnormal, and that is what is known as teratospermia. So all these things you may find in due course of time, and the couple after marriage may be an infertile couple because of infertile male. Then in the abnormal position, testis grows and it is more liable for trauma. Suppose the testis is lying in the inguinal region and it develops over there. What will happen? When child will wear some cloth, undergarments, or plays, or does some job, what will happen? Any abdominal injury is liable to injure testes and patient will be developing pain. Then, as we have discussed previously, it is associated with indirect inguinal hernia because of persistence of processus vaginalis. Because there is abnormality of mesentery of testis when there is a maldescent, and because of this abnormality, this testis is more liable for torsion. And this is again a problem. Undescended testis near to abdomen, less germ cell, poor germ cell, and moreover, since it is prone for testicular torsion, prone for developing trauma or having trauma, you can imagine the patient is liable to develop infertility or problems. And very importantly, if it is left as such, the testis will lead to atrophy and you may not salvage it. If testis is undescended, especially when there is intra-abdominal, then it may turn into malignant. And the most common malignancy developing in undescended testis is seminoma. That you must understand. And that is again a good PGME question. You have to note that. And you remember our second case scenario, 30-year-old male who was presenting with lump in right iliac fossa, which was irregular, non-tender, not moving with respiration. And it was hard. Scrotum was empty. So what it was? It was, clinically, it was a testicular tumor. And which type most commonly? Seminoma. So in that way, we can correlate our clinical scenario with complications or with histopathology or with clinical feature. Now, what investigations do you require? Normally, this is more of the clinical examination when you do that. But when you are going to investigate for non-palpable testis, then you have to take care of, take help of radiology, then the ultrasound, the CT scan or MRI if it is needed. Herniography, though it is mentioned, but it is not very commonly employed. And yes, very importantly, endocrine evaluation, including follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, and human chorion gonadotropin, testosterone and dihydrotestosterone. See why it is important. This single test, FSH, if it is enlarged or if it is having more value, what does it mean? It means that there is atrophy of testis. That you need to understand. Because of the feedback system, whenever there is a low testosterone, then FSH will increase. And when this increases more than 10 units, we should be very sure that our testis is going to be atrophic. Then there is HCG stimulation test, human chorion gonadotrophin stimulation test. This is done when we are not able to palpate any of the testes, and through our investigations we are not able to locate testes within the abdomen. Now we want to be sure whether we are having any testicular substance or not. And even if one testis is present within the abdomen, this human chorion gonadotrophin stimulation test will be positive. This test is performed by giving injection of HCG to baby. Now the dose and the duration differ from protocol to protocol. I am telling you one protocol which is standard, and that is, first of all, you measure baseline testosterone level. Then HCG 2000 units daily is given for 4 days, and then we estimate testosterone on 5th day, that is within 24 hours of stopping HCG. If it is more than 10 times increased of the previous value, that means testis is present, at least one testis is present, and we have to explore and look for it. Now comes the management. What are the treatment aims or the management aims? First and foremost is proper identification of anatomy, what is the position of testis, and whether this testis is viable or not. And that we will come to know through all the investigations what we have discussed previously. Then once testis is there, then it should be timely placed into the scrotum so that there should be no further damage, or the fertility should be maintained. And what should be the ideal time? Ideal time, as we have discussed previously also, it has to be between 6 months to 1 year. That is the ideal time. Then even if we have found the testis, we should permanently fix it for easy palpation. Some abnormality develops, then we should be able to identify. For that purpose, it is also important, because it has been seen that in undescended testes, even if they are brought down, the potential of developing malignancy does not decrease. So therefore, if at all it is going to happen, we should detect it early. And moreover, there should be no further testicular damage while we are doing treatment. That we should take care of. So these are our management aims. One is hormone therapy, where you can give exogenous HCG, and what it will do, it will stimulate Leydig cell, and this will in turn promote androgen secretion, and as we have discussed, the androgen is responsible for testicular descent. So you can give exogenous HCG. Then either you can give exogenous GnRH or LHRH. What it will do? It will stimulate pituitary to release LH, and that LH will in turn promote testicular hormone or Leydig cell to secrete testosterone, and that is going to help in descent of testis. It has been seen that if pre-treatment level of testis is low, the chances of hormone treatment success is more. That means what? If the testis is within the inguinal canal, or it is suprapubic or even infrapubic, the chances are better that the testis can be brought down up to the base of scrotum through hormone therapy. Optimal age for hormone therapy is 5 years. Suppose a baby has come to you and 5 years have elapsed, then you can try for hormone therapy. But if the baby you have diagnosed baby at the age of 1 year, then the treatment will be surgical. Mind you, then you are not supposed to give hormone therapy. So optimal age otherwise is 5 years, and it is more effective in bilateral than unilateral undescended testes. There are various protocols of treatment. I am telling you one protocol, that is you give exogenous HCG 1500 international unit per meter square intramuscular twice a week for 4 weeks. Or if you wish to give exogenous GnRH, which is costly, 1.2 milligram per day as a nasal spray for 4 weeks. Then testes will descend in a month time in 10 to 20%. So it is not that you will get 100% success, only less than 20% you are getting success, and that too after 1 week. So there is 1 month. So there is no question of prolonging your hormone therapy after 1 month. Hormone therapy is definitely not indicated whenever there is a history of previous surgery. Suppose the baby has been operated for this testis only previously, or any surgery for the inguinal hernia previously, or patient is immune suppressed, then HCG therapy is not given. As I have told, the overall efficacy is less than 20%, but even then, if suppose you pick up your patient at the age of 5 years, it is prudent to try this hormone therapy. And definitely it depends upon the pre-treatment testicular location. However, surgery remains gold standard. That is very important for you to understand. If you are being asked what is the gold standard at the age of 5 years, the gold standard even at the age of 5 years will remain surgery. Now what are the surgical treatment? Surgical treatment, one is standard orchiopexy. The other is laparoscopic orchiopexy. The laparoscopic orchiopexy is done in cases where testis is intra-abdominal. And through investigations you came to know it is intra-abdominal, or through laparoscopy you found out that the testis is lying proximal to the deep ring. Then through laparoscopy you bring the testis down into the inguinal canal, and from there onwards you make an open surgery and bring testis down to scrotal base. So here in the laparoscopy you need not open the abdomen and then bring the testis down. Then sometimes the microvascular autotransplantation means what? Suppose you are having short spermatic cord, and this spermatic cord, this testis cannot be brought down. So there what you will do, you will divide and then you bring the testis down into the scrotum and do microvascular surgery. Some artery you will take and you will anastomose, and that is what is known as autotransplantation. You should not forget about contralateral orchiopexy. This is again a prophylactic because it has been seen that once one side of the testis is undescended, the other side is liable for torsion. So therefore, to prevent that torsion, you will do contralateral orchiopexy also. What are the key steps of surgical treatment or the standard orchiopexy? That you need to know as an undergraduate. You have to completely mobilize the testis and spermatic cord through transverse inguinal incision. You have to cut skin, subcutaneous tissue, the fascia, and then you will open up the inguinal canal, divide the sac, the covering of the canal, the spermatic cord, and once you have divided the covering of the spermatic cord, you will come across the sac, you will divide the sac and then you will mobilize the spermatic cord and testis completely. That is very important. If you will not mobilize it, you will not be able to get proper length. Then you will separate the processus vaginalis, because whenever there is undescended testis, it is always associated with processus vaginalis. So what you will do, you will separate processus vaginalis from spermatic cord, from rest of the spermatic cord structures, and this processus vaginalis, that means it is a hernial sac. As we ligate, it will be ligated at deep ring. Now what will happen? Once you have separated processus vaginalis, then you will gain extra length of spermatic cord. After that, you will further remove the adhesions and the facial structure you will dissect, and you will skeletonize the spermatic cord. But here you will take care that you should not sacrifice the vascular integrity. If you will do that, then there will be development of testicular atrophy. After you have mobilized, after you have ligated processus vaginalis, after you have done skeletonization of the spermatic cord, you will create a pouch in scrotum. Just below the scrotal skin, you will make another small incision, bluntly dissect it so that there is subdartos pouch. That pouch is created so that you can pull testis from above and bring this testis into subdartos pouch. I will show you in pictorial form. So this is a normal baby. What you will do, you will make a transverse incision in the crease of the abdomen, and you will cut skin subcutaneous tissue. You will mobilize this testis along with the processus vaginalis. You can see you have opened up the processus vaginalis. Now you can see the testis is there, is peeping through this. And then now what you are doing, you are removing this processus vaginalis from remaining cord structure. You can see the blue part, this is pampaniform plexus, and this pampaniform plexus is dissected so that this processus vaginalis is separated from pampaniform plexus, which is also having testicular vessel. And you can see this is the processus vaginalis which has been dissected. It is twisted on its own and it will be ligated here at the deep ring. Now this is testis which has been skeletonized and having spermatic cord, which is having pampaniform plexus, which is having testicular artery. Now you have gained length, and this is the status after dissection. After you have done that, as I have told, you have made a transverse incision within the scrotum, and just below the scrotum with blunt dissection, you will create a pouch that is between skin and dartos muscle, and that is what is known as subdartos pouch. Once you have done that, then with the help of hemostat, you will catch testis and bring testis down and keep the testis in subdartos pouch, whatever you have made it. So am I clear? So once you have made a small incision in the inguinal canal, you have mobilized testis and the spermatic cord, you have dissected out the processus vaginalis, you have ligated processus vaginalis at the base, at the deep ring. Then what you have done, you have skeletonized a spermatic cord, made a subdartos pouch and brought testis down. And this is the transverse incision which you can see has been made, and the testis has been taken out. And now this testis along with the spermatic cord will be dissected, will be skeletonized, processus vaginalis will be dissected out from spermatic cord and it will be ligated at deep ring. And this is the final picture after you have placed testis within the scrotum. This scrotum was initially empty. Now you can see on the left side this is swollen, on the right side also this is swollen, and in due course of time the testis will grow and both the sides will become normal. This is a picture which you see through laparoscope in intra-abdominal testis. And just proximal to deep ring, you find this is the deep ring. You can see this is the deep ring. And just proximal to that, you find the testis. You dissect out this testis. You take this testis to deep ring, and then this is brought through open dissection, and further surgery is done. Now, what are the complications of this operation, orchiopexy? See, as I keep on telling, there are three jokers of any surgery. Jokers means you can fit these complications to any operation. Number one is infection. Number two is hematoma formation or bleeding. And number three is injury to underlying structures. That means what? If these three will remain there, but additionally you are having testicular retraction. You have brought testis down, but in due course of time it will retract again. So that is another complication. Hematoma formation, if you have not properly taken care of hemostasis. Wound infection, as I have told you previously. And then injury to ilioinguinal nerve, or you have not fixed it properly, there is a post-operative torsion, or you have damage to vas deferens, or you have damage to vessels, then there will be development of testicular atrophy. So all these complications can occur if you have not done orchiopexy carefully. Now question comes, is there any scope of orchiectomy? Do we go for orchiectomy? Yes, orchiectomy is indicated when the patient delays or ignores that undescent up to the puberty and comes to you in the post-pubescent stage. You examine that the contralateral normally descended testis and morphologically and anatomically abnormal cryptorchid testis. That means the other testis is normal, but this testis is high up and this testis is having abnormality, soft consistency, and it cannot be brought into the scrotum because it is too far. So then this testis has to be removed. Orchiectomy has to be done because there are more chances of developing malignancy in this testis. And moreover, by removing this testis, you are not compromising with fertility of patient. So by now you must have understood that we should learn to work in a team. There is always interdisciplinary linkage. Nobody is boss. Surgeon or the urologist should not think that he or she is the boss. There is role of surgeon, there is role of pathologist, there is role of imaging person, radiotherapy if suppose patient develops some malignancy, surgical oncology person, medical oncology, and your paramedics and nursing staff. So that means we as a surgeon should learn to respect each other, should learn to work in a team. If you have got any question, you can drop in my chat box in this YouTube, and then I will definitely answer it to your satisfaction. So now you think of this scenario again. Premature baby, 2 kg newborn male baby of mother receiving gestational steroid is having empty stomach, empty scrotum. So because of the prematurity, the descent has not occurred. Because of the low birth weight, the descent has not occurred. Because the mother was taking gestational steroid because of some problem. So these are the factors which are responsible for undescended testis leading to empty right scrotum. Why? Because the right side it is more common. So therefore in your clinical case scenario, it was right side. And left testis was normal, and here I must tell you, sometimes when one testis becomes atrophic, then the contralateral normal testis becomes even bigger than normal size, and that is normal. So it should not be taken as abnormal because of the compensatory hyperfunction. It becomes size becomes a bit more. What is your diagnosis? You are clear? Your diagnosis will be undescended right-sided testis. When you will treat? Definitely you will treat after 1 year, because histopathological changes, they do occur after 1 year, and up to 1 year testis can come down on its own. How will you manage? You will do workup, you will do clinical examination, you will do radiology, and then you will manage accordingly whatever is needed for that patient. And if surgery is required, what is the right age? Right age, if the patient reports to you, is 1 year and after. 1 to 2 years is ideal age for surgery. Suppose patient comes late at the age of 5 years, then you can try hormonal treatment, but even then the surgery will remain gold standard. Now what is the clinical scenario 2? 30-year-old male presents with mild pain and intra-abdominal lump in right lower abdomen. And as you examine, lump is hard, non-tender, irregular, fixed, not moving with respiration. And you find that right scrotum is empty. Now you understood what complications have developed? Patient has developed malignancy because of undescended testis. Patient has developed malignancy. And which type of malignancy? Testicular malignancy. Which type of testicular malignancy? Most commonly seminoma. How will you manage? You will manage as per protocol of testicular tumor. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed. And again I will say, or I will request, if you have got any question, you can just drop your question in my chat box and I will definitely answer it. Thank you. Thank you very much.